Alright, hello guys, I'm the Gabry Cat, and welcome to a test video to find out which is better, the Palladium Sword or the Knight's Edge. This is becoming a trend that all of these swords that you get pretty early on in hard mode are just giving this blade that you've spent several hours of your life at least, if you're speedrunning, to get. So this thing, 4 legendary swords from pre-hard mode, combine it together at a demon altar, forge it in the fiery hells of darkness, create this blade, and then you just get this thing from one of the most common, is essentially the copper equivalent of hard mode, and it's only 2 damage less, but it has a use time a couple higher. Like, there's a few things I gotta touch on. So I've upgraded stats, and we have a whole statistics page here now. So the only thing really of note is I added 5 targets. Before, the previous test was 1, 3, and 10. Now I have 5 as well. And this stat over here, the stat on the left, is the stat of the item. It's the base stat. And the stat on the right is the statistic I used in the video. So that's the only 2 things that really need to be figured out here. I've already done a test video of this, and I'm forced to re-record it because this piece of shit right here does not work. It keeps exploding every time I try to do literally anything. It just makes me have to work even harder, and it's kind of annoying. So something I noticed is when I was testing it in the previous thing is the DPS of the Knight's Edge that I had previously recorded was a bit off. If you crit a lot, it can actually go up to about 320-ish against a single target, but that's a little unfair. So the average damage you'll get is about 230. I don't know what I said here. Yeah, 230 to 280 is about the range you'll get. It might be a little lower than that. Like getting about mid-20s, going down to 210, 200. So I'd say actually this is a little bit lower than I thought. Nope, right here's what I said. 180 to 240. So I'm going to increase that to about 260. Because if you crit more, you can get even higher. Like right there I was 280. So I think that stat I had before was a bit off. And somebody in the comment section of the last video pointed out that they don't even use the Star Veil anymore. They use the Master Ninja Gear, and I forget what else they said. Instead of emblems, they use like not the Lava Charm, the Charm of Myths. I think the Charm of Myths is garbage except for the potion thing. The potion statistic is really good. Oh yeah, Palladium Sword, I gotta test that. I have to test it to show you. Not all the way down there. So it attacks a lot faster. Its damage per second is higher than the Knight's Edge against a single target, which is pretty interesting. I mean, it has 2 less damage but a higher use time, so this is what you would expect. Now this is what I charted, about 230 to 280 is the damage. Let's see if we can get lower than 230. I think we can. Maybe not. I think I already tested this. Like, it hovers around like 280-ish, and it goes lower if you don't crit. So yeah, I think that the Master Ninja Gear it's kind of gimmicky and laughable. 10% chance to dodge attacks instead of essentially taking half damage if you're constantly taking damage. His argument, however, was that he doesn't take damage that much. I don't know what kind of like black magic you're using to not take damage against the Moon Lord a lot, but I'm not good enough, I guess, to understand that strategy. I might test it in the future, but for now, I'm basically tanking hits all the time, so I need that. So here's the crazy part. Knight's Edge can hit all 3, I thought. Yeah, like if you stand here, like the first pixel that you can hit the Knight's Edge, you can't hit the Palladium Sword. You need to go a little closer. And the hitbox of the Palladium Sword, it's a little weird. It's gonna be impossible to time this. It's clearly going over it, right? Like, that doesn't count. It's a little longer. It's like 4 pixels longer. Like, I want to have the player stand perfectly, like, these 2 blocks to the right of whatever the thing it's hitting is. Like, I want to be situated perfectly on this. And if I stand like this, then the Knight's Edge doesn't hit that third target either. The beam sword's gonna just shit all over it if this is the case. If I have to change the numbers to be even lower. And the palladium sword's gonna poop on it as well. It was looking like the palladium sword was better a single target, and Knight's Edge was better against groups because it's a bigger hitbox. Which this is still true, but it's like not by enough to matter now. Because if you're on a good spot like these 2 blocks, and you're not allowed to move from this spot, you can't hit this third thing anymore. So let's see here. What do I have against 3 targets for the? I'm gonna have to change all this. Yeah. So this is bopped 380 to 520, depending on crits. It's looking like the palladium sword just dumps all over it. It's not even close. Actually, it's pretty close. The thing that wasn't even close was the beam sword, and that was like surprising. But I guess the beam itself does the same damage as the sword, so it's like doing double damage. And palladium sword doesn't reach either. They both have like similar hitboxes, but how big is the difference? How big is the it's like at least double. It's like another 4 pixels. So I'm gonna say 70. And I'll retest the beam sword in a bit for those new stats. I'll show you these stats at the beginning of each video so we can see how everything ranks. I'll update all these so that they're the proper size later, but for now, let's just continue on with our test, even though it's gonna be pretty irrelevant because yeah, we can't really reach those blocks anyway. We can only hit these first 2. So that's 5. Still only hit the first 2 on 5 and 10. Definitely 10 as well. Okay, back to what we were doing before I saw Plantera breaking the laws of nature in half over its knee. Its non-existent knee. No, not... Let's just for a second check out Meowmere, just because... Oh my god! That's how much damage the best sword in the game does. This is how much damage the Knight's Edge does. I love how much it goes down. Get out of the way. Yeah, still hovering about 520 at the highest against 2 targets. Was that what I wrote down? I don't know if that's what I wrote down. Now let's see how it does against, I mean, last time I tested Possessed Armor, but I don't really think it matters too much who I tested on. Like, these guys have less defense, so they'll die in less hits. So we could test it on both if we want, which I think I may as well. It's really annoying to get enemies to spawn here because the dummies count. So you have to be in like a very specific location. Enemies off screen take 12 seconds to despawn, so I can hang out for like another 2-ish seconds. Okay, 4. Mimic. Hell yeah, let's test that. About 3 hits, just like the previous test. Now let's see how the Palladium Sword does against Possessed Armors. I doubt I'll get another Mimic to spawn. That would be too good to be true. We've got 4 to spawn again. About the same. It's the same damage pretty much. 3 hits. 4 hits. I guess I'm not critting at all. That was just... The damage is about the same. Don't let that fool you. It was the fact that I didn't crit that much on the last Palladium Sword test. Like, I should 2-shot it if I crit. Or it runs into me and I blow it up. But, yeah, it's like the same damage. In like, if you just count 1 hit, then the damage is pretty much the same. But, if you, so like... I should remove this 10 because I tested it at night. That 10 damage was because I had +2, I think. I don't know. I'm just going to do that to be safe and not taint the data. So basically, this is what it looks like. I mean, give me a second and I'll switch around to the statistics, and then we'll actually just be able to see which one is better just on the numbers as well as, yeah, DPS-wise. Which... I think DPS is a fair thing to judge weapons on in terms of their effectiveness, because like if you just want to know which sword is better for one-shotting something, you look at its base damage or the damage you can get with a lot of endgame items that are really good. But if you're actually trying to determine which weapon is the best in terms of like being able to kill shit, most things don't die in 1 hit, so DPS is very valuable. And very valid stat to check the legitimacy of a good item on. Alright, here's what it looks like. The Palladium Sword completely destroys the Knight's Edge. Well, not completely, but it just, in general, destroys it. The only thing the Knight's Edge has on the Palladium Sword is a couple pixels of range on its weapon. The Palladium Sword has this issue where the hitbox isn't the exact same size as the weapon, and I've also went and measured the Beam Sword, and Beam Sword has an accurate hitbox for its weapon. And the Palladium Sword is weird. The sword is 4 pixels smaller, at least, than the Knight's Edge, and then the hitbox is even smaller than that. It's not the same size, so there's like a little sizable pixel difference of like about 8 pixels. None of these are meant to be like perfect, they're just meant to be close. And that could be said for all of this, it's just meant to be close. The only times things like this will matter in terms of determining the best weapon is if two items are just so close that the smallest change in a factor will matter. But it's actually pretty easy to tell which one is the better one. The only thing the Knight's Edge does better is 2 more damage, or 1 more damage, depending on how weak you are. DPS against 1 target, Palladium Sword destroys. You have to crit quite a lot on the Knight's Edge to match. And then 3 targets, it gets even further away, and you have to crit quite a lot to match it, and that's just a trend. I need to update this, because I figured out I was standing in the wrong spot when I measured the previous Knight's Edge thing, because you can only hit 2 dummies, you can't hit 3. I was standing too close in the last video, so that is corrected. Yeah, the Beam Sword is still destroying everything completely. It's still the best weapon in Terraria if we're only taking into account these first 3 weapons. That beam is so OP, as well as that damage, but that beam is also really incredibly OP, seriously. In terms of crafting, much easier to make the Palladium Sword and get the Beam Sword. It's only a drop rate from the Armored Skeleton, and Palladium you can just find in someone's couch cushion at the point you get into hard mode. It's incredibly common, so yep, there's the video. I think I need to make this image a little bigger, but I'm not sure. That's a little better. Looks a little squished. But that's pretty much the video. Thank you for watching. In the next episode, I've had a lot of shit planned. I'm probably going to do a lot of these. I'm sorry if anyone finds them annoying, but I really enjoy doing them. It's actually kind of scary how much fun I'm having testing these items. Although a few things will be getting in the way, mainly Camtasia. But I will use OBS. If this thing I paid $200 for is going to crap itself, fall on the floor, and start crying like a little baby, I'll just have to use the free software, the better software, superior software. Alright, I've been the Gary Cat. If you like Palladium, subscribe to the channel. A lot of Palladium will visit you in the night. Have a good night, everybody. See you in the next video.